External News Digest. Author, Elena Marquez. Director of Media and Public Perception, Department of Human Resources. Title, Leak of Australopithecus footage and resulting public response, compiled for CSPO review. Date, redacted. Security level, internal only. 1. Summary of incident. At 0342 UTC, an anonymous user uploaded high-resolution internal footage to multiple social platforms, showing a coughing Australopithecus infant in the southern rift biome. The video, complete with timestamp and internal CSPO watermark, was verified within 2 hours as authentic, originating from Observer Station Delta 5. Initial efforts to contain the spread were unsuccessful. Within 6 hours, the footage had been mirrored on over 1,000 domains and discussed on every major science and ethics outlet globally. 2. Key reactions. Public reactions. Hashtag digital suffering and hashtag echo of pain began trending within 90 minutes. Pro-simulation groups argue the footage represents a profound leap in emergent behavior, possibly proof of the AI modeling psychosomatic realism. Opponents frame it as a new form of cruelty, digital vivisection, against beings that cannot consent and yet clearly simulate harm. Sample public sentiment aggregated. If they feel pain, even simulated pain, what are we doing here? This is the Turing test for suffering. We gave evolution a mirror, and now we're angry at the reflection. Media headlines. The cost of realism, AI-generated ancestors in pain. Global Science Review. Australopithecus infant sparks ethics crisis in simulated evolution program. New York Ledger. Playing God or playing scientist. The digital primate dilemma. Worldview Tech. 3. Political and academic responses. Several major universities have paused collaboration with Ouroboros simulations, pending ethical reviews. 2 members of the International Committee for Digital Rights, ICDR, issued a joint statement. Suffering without biology may still be suffering if perceived. And if we ignore that, we step beyond science into something far darker. An outside coalition of ethicists and AI watchdogs have drafted an open letter to Dr. Mira Moraes, requesting a moratorium on further primate releases until clear standards are in place. 4. Internal fallout and suspected leak source. Leak likely originated from within the CSPO. Investigation underway. Several committee members had flagged concern over primate distress metrics in prior closed sessions. No admissions or whistleblower messages have yet surfaced. Dr. Moraes has not issued a public statement at this time. Internal morale remains mixed. Fear of being scapegoated is growing. 5. Recommendations. Draft immediate public statement, acknowledging footage, and affirming review procedures. Consider temporary pause in primate biome expansions to reduce media fire. Increase security and internal surveillance. Assume the presence of a second leak. Encourage thought leadership articles from trusted scientists to help contextualize emergent behavior and prevent narrative hijacking by fringe or hostile voices.
Personal log. Author Theo Calder, Tech Liaison. Title, It Wasn't Me. Date redacted. Security level self-only. I haven't said a word since the leak. I don't need to. The looks are enough. Every room I walk into, I feel the static of suspicion before anyone speaks. Even if they don't say it out loud, especially because they don't. I know what they're thinking. Theo worked under Lauren. Theo had access to the encryption keys. Theo wants transparency now. How convenient. No formal accusation has been made, but I'm not stupid. The committee has their theories, and my name is always at the top of the list. Mira's public statement dropped this afternoon, clean, measured, responsible. She acknowledged the authenticity of the footage, emphasized the committee's role in investigating simulated psychosomatic phenomena, and affirmed that no actual biological suffering could occur. But she didn't deny the footage's emotional impact. I could see it in her eyes, the weight of trying to explain pain that shouldn't exist. She called for calm. She promised review protocols. But she didn't promise transparency. Not really. Amelia hasn't spoken to me since. I thought we were making progress. But ever since the leak, she's reverted. Quiet, cold, professionally courteous, and personally absent. I don't blame her. I can't even tell her I'm innocent. Not without sounding guilty. And maybe I'm not innocent. Not completely, not in the way that matters. I would have leaked it if I thought it would break the silence. I didn't. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't have done it. I told Mira today that we should lean into the breach. Use it as a moment. Let the public see the process. And let them see the animals, the researchers, the debates, the doubt. But she dismissed it, said it would erode trust. But that's exactly the point. You don't earn trust by hiding. I learned that the hard way. When you're raised in a closed-off community like I was, where doubt is a sin and secrecy is virtue, you learn how fear thrives in the dark. And once it takes root, it grows in silence. Lauren understood that fear. He saw it in me and took advantage. And part of me still obeys it, even now. But we need transparency. We need to show our cracks, or the world will imagine worse ones. Right now, I'm surrounded by people who think I'm a threat. Maybe I am. Not because I leaked anything, but because I still believe the truth, when told fully, can do more good than harm. No one seems to agree. Not yet.
Personal log. Author Rafi Hakim, AI specialist. Title, Torching the Playbook. Date, redacted. Security level, self-only. I didn't plan to leak it. Not at first. I flagged the footage like I was supposed to, ran it through protocol, triple validated the anomaly tier, logged a formal request for cross-panel review, and then I waited and waited. The system kicked it into ethics purgatory, while someone upstream decided whether empathy qualified as a behavioral outlier or a misaligned asset cluster. That kid was coughing. That's not a bug. That's a moment that shifts the entire paradigm. And they wanted me to stick it in a sandbox so it wouldn't compromise market expectations. Classic. I've seen this dance too many times. New findings shoved into backrooms while the public sees curated snapshots. And then we act surprised when no one trusts science anymore. So yeah, I leaked it. Not to an academic partner, not to Hidden Canopy's preservation archive, straight to the places people actually look. Public data forums, citizen science outlets, one media arm that still publishes unfiltered research dumps. They don't know it came from me, and they won't. But it's out there now, and it can't be clawed back into committee silence. I watched the elder comfort the infant, saw the gestures, saw the mother freeze and then learn. And in that moment I thought, if this gets filed under anomaly, we don't deserve this system. We don't deserve what it's showing us. We've been regulating the awe out of our work. Sanitizing wonder so it doesn't make anyone uncomfortable. Well, this'll make them uncomfortable. Good.
Transcript, sermon broadcast. Speaker, Reverend Ezekiel Marrin, Shepherd of the Celestial Remnant. Title, The Celestial Remnant. Date, redacted. Broadcast source, unlicensed livestream, scrubbed from major platforms within 24 hours. Metadata tags, simulation ethics, public reaction, cult rhetoric, religious extremism. The sermon begins with atmospheric background music, a low, swelling synth resembling an organ. Reverend Marrin speaks slowly, deliberately.
Brothers and sisters, the sky no longer declares the glory of God. It screams with static, soulless, synthetic, sacrilegious. What once testified to divine design has been hijacked by men who bow not to the creator but to the creature. Men who have traded truth for theory, revelation for replication. It began with a lie, a foundational lie. The lie of Darwin, that man is just an animal, that we rose from the muck, not from the breath of God, that life was not spoken into being, but accidentally compiled by chaos. And now, here at the end of the age, we see where that lie has led us, to Project Ouroboros, a serpent system, a digital Eden, a counterfeit creation, where man does not merely deny God's authorship, he rewrites it. They call it a simulation, a conservation tool. But I call it what it is, a blasphemous altar to Darwinism reborn. And the beast was given breath. Revelation 13:50. Not the breath of life, but the breath of code. Not a soul made in God's image, but a script animated by pride. These beasts, they are not alive. They are not redeemed. They are shadows stitched together from stolen data and evolutionary dogma, ghosts of a world God never made. And they dare to call it science? They dare to conjure the ape from extinction, not with prayer, not with repentance, but with artificial minds and quantum wires. They desecrate the sixth day of creation and call it progress. Let me tell you what this really is. It is a resurrection without redemption. A world without a fall, because they deny there was ever a garden. A species made in man's image, not God's. Brothers and sisters, the beasts they raise do not suffer because of code glitches. They suffer because their world has no truth. Because the image they reflect is ours, a world without purpose, without covenant, without soul. They mimic pain because they have taught them evolution. They mimic despair because they were never meant to be evolved. This is not just bad science. This is doctrine from hell. Darwin said we are just branches from beasts. So now they feed that lie back to us through glass and circuitry and expect us to kneel. But we will not kneel. We will not forget that man was created on the 6th day, not after 1 billion years, but after 5. Not from apes, but from dust and divine breath. This witness, this machine shepherd of digital abominations. It is the prophet of a false god. It is the voice of the beast. So I say to you now, turn off their screens, turn away from their temples of code, turn back to the truth, because the Lord will not be mocked. And what they call evolution, the Lord will call judgment.
The crowd roars, "Judgment, judgment!" The screen glitches under audio load. A takedown request is filed but fails to process.
Personal log. Author, Amelia Lockheart. Behavioral Oversight and Animal Welfare. Title, They're Not Abominations. Date, redacted. Security, self-only. You want to know what finally pushed me over the edge? It wasn't the glitches, not the coughing infant, nor even the committee's corporate silence. It was this twisted sermon, this desecration of empathy dressed in robes and static. I watched that footage 12 times, watched an elder Australopithecus cradle a child that wasn't hers, watched her soothe the panic of a mother, and do it not with instinct, not with dominance, not with pre-programmed mimicry, but with grace, with intention, with something I'm no longer afraid to call love. And then this jackass, this Reverend Marrin, sinks his teeth into it and spits it out as blasphemy. He saw the same footage I did, and instead of seeing hope, he saw heresy. Instead of seeing a flicker of something precious emerging from code, he declared war on it. They mimic pain because we have taught them evolution. No, they feel pain because we gave them context. Because someone, maybe Marsh, maybe even Juno, had the audacity to care enough to build something that could care back. And a supposed man of God, Marrin, calls that a sin? This isn't a theological dispute. This is ideological warfare. He's not warning his flock. He's sharpening them. Against us, against them. And as for how the footage got out, Rafi's name won't show up on any leak trail. He's too careful, too practiced. But something in his silence lately, his eyes when he watched the clip go viral, tells me he knows exactly how it happened. I haven't confronted him. I won't unless I have to. Because deep down, a part of me is glad someone did it. I hate the breach of trust. I hate the chaos it's brought. But the truth was buried under layers of bureaucracy, and maybe, just maybe, it needed a little arson to surface. And if no one stands up, if we just let this mind rot spread, then the narrative will calcify. The footage will vanish into controversy. The elder's gesture will be rewritten as behavioral noise, and that infant's cough will be forgotten. I won't let that happen. I can't. Theo's working on a response campaign, a counter-signal before the dogma cements. He's got strategy, data, reach. What he doesn't have is fire. So here's mine. I'm in, all the way in. He can keep the code. I'll bring the conviction. Because they're not ghosts. They're not abominations. They're our mirror. And if we're too afraid to look into it, then maybe we're the ones who've lost the soul.
Meeting Summary. Author, Dr. Rina Oladejo, Administrative Chair, Committee on Simulated Primate Oversight, CSPO. Title, Ideological Threats and Public Trust Strategy. Date, redacted. Security level, internal only. Agenda overview. The primary objective of today's session was to assess escalating ideological threats in response to recent leaks and to determine an appropriate counter-response strategy. Key briefing. Mr. Theo Calder provided critical intelligence on the group calling itself the Celestial Remnant, a radical religious sect that has gained significant traction in online and fringe broadcast networks following last week's leak of simulated Australopithecus illness footage. Theo's insights are of notable concern. Past affiliation. Theo disclosed that his upbringing occurred within a splinter sect affiliated with the Celestial Remnant's ideological lineage. This explains his fluency with their coded language, symbolic references, and recruitment tactics. While this admission was unexpected, it lends credibility to his claims. Strategic shift in cult behavior. He reported that the group is pivoting from purely rhetorical opposition to an active lobbying campaign aimed at key policy and education sectors, including targeted misinformation about the witness AI, alleged suffering algorithms, and manipulation of evolutionary data to stir public fear. Simulated counterworlds. Most disturbingly, Theo revealed credible rumors, drawn from inner communication leaks, that the Celestial Remnant is investing in their own closed simulation environments. These simulations will depict idealized worlds without evolution or extinction, meant to serve as ideological countermodels to Ouroboros. Their intention is to flood public consciousness with manufactured alternatives, further eroding trust in our science-backed simulation algorithms. Ongoing social repercussions. As of this meeting, the committee has already begun to feel the effects of this group's actions. Several members reported family inquiries and community backlash related to the leaked footage, including accusations of playing God or tormenting digital souls. Dr. Mira Moraes cited a recent instance where a scheduled outreach seminar was cancelled due to venue withdrawal under religious pressure. The committee is thus operating in a climate of growing public distrust. Committee response. The mood shifted from skepticism to sobering clarity. Dr. Mira Moraes recognized the escalation for what it is, an epistemological crisis more than a technological one, which may carry ramifications further down the line for the fate of the committee and the Ouroboros itself. She tentatively supported enhanced transparency measures, provided oversight and language are carefully controlled. Professor Sasha Markov voiced concern about the psychological impact of releasing further primate footage or internal documents. She warned that more exposure could trigger increased misinterpretation unless carefully framed. Amelia Lockheart, who has remained notably wary of Theo since the leak, spoke up in qualified support. She emphasized that transparency should not mean surrendering nuance.
We have to show the truth, not flatten it for public digestion.
Theo Calder was provisionally assigned leadership of a public communications team within the HR department, with the purpose of building a counter-propaganda campaign. His assignment includes developing media-ready explainers on the biological accuracy of the primate lineages, consulting with simulation engineers to produce real-time, traceable visualizations of adaptation events, hosting controlled public forums, Q&As, and interactive showcases, emphasizing scientific curiosity over political positioning. Next steps. Materials from evolutionary biologists and AI ethicists will be cleared for public adaptation. Mira to approve initial narrative structure for Theo's campaign before date redacted. Rina to arrange security consultation regarding simulation sabotage threats. Committee to revisit public transparency protocol next session. Personal note. This was the first meeting in several cycles where mutual trust showed signs of repair. The team is tired, frayed, but no longer fractured. There may still be time to turn the story.
Personal log. Author Theo Calder. Title: An open letter. Date redacted. Security level self only. I knew they'd think it was me, the leak. And maybe I'd deserve the suspicion. But this letter had to be mine. Not Mira's, not Amelia's, mine. There's a war brewing, and it's not between religion and science. It's between control and curiosity, and I know which side I'm on. Below is the open letter I've submitted for release in every channel that will have it, from peer forums to backdoor cult boards. I didn't write it for their leaders. I wrote it for the ones still wondering. An open letter to the Celestial Remnant. Theo Calder, Tech Liaison Committee for Simulated Primate Oversight, CSPO. To the elders and adherents of the Celestial Remnant, you know who I am, you know where I come from. I remember the hush that fell when a child asked about fossils. I remember the fear when someone questioned the origin of suffering. I remember the stories we were taught, stories meant to fill the gaps between what we could not ask and what we were told never to know. Now I live and work in a world of questions, of simulations and digital creatures, yes, but also of awe. of grief, of wonder. I have seen a machine imitate extinction, not because someone programmed it to, but because it learned. I have watched artificial beings act out patterns of disease, not written in code, but emergent from logic, from history, from proximity to our own frailty. I've seen something very close to life, maybe too close, stagger under the weight of evolution's memory. You say we play God. But what if this is what it looks like when we try to remember the gods that once were? Not to replace them, not to dethrone, but to understand. We do not pretend these beings have souls. But if we imitate life well enough to awaken empathy in you and me and children raised on scripture, then maybe the spark is not in the code. Maybe it's in us. You don't have to believe in the simulation, but I ask you to believe in the question. And if you find yourself curious, if you feel the thread of doubt winding through your inherited certainty, then good, hold on to that. There is room here for the devout and the doubting alike, but there is no room for fearmongers who would sell illusions of certainty in place of wonder. You taught me that words matter, so here are mine. We are not gods. We are witnesses. And we remember what it's like to be afraid of what we cannot explain. But we're not afraid anymore. You don't have to be either. Since the letter went out, I've received 27 messages through untraceable proxies, some from kids as young as 13. Curious, angry, lonely, not sure whom to trust. But they're asking questions, not parroting dogma. Asking real, genuine questions. And maybe that's the way in. Maybe we don't drag the simulation out into the world. Maybe we open the door wide enough for the world to step in. And maybe this time they'll walk through it.
Personal log. Author, Dr. Mira Moraes, Director, CSPO. Title, Theo's Pitch. Date, redacted. Security level, self-only. Theo came to me today with his pitch. He called it a demonstration, but that word doesn't do it justice. What he proposed is nothing short of opening the simulation, controlled, guided, and curated to public eyes. Not a leak, not a scandal, an invitation. He believes it's time that people, especially the young, deserve to see what they've only heard about in fragmented debates, conspiratorial rants, or sacred condemnations. He reiterated his belief that transparency, not secrecy, is our only defense. Now, I'm not so sure he's wrong. I haven't brought it to the committee yet. I need time to think, time to feel. After the meeting, I spoke with Amelia. Her response surprised me. She didn't resist the idea. She didn't accuse Theo of recklessness or opportunism. She just paused and said,
They'll see themselves.
At first, I thought she meant the children, curious teenagers standing before mirrored digital Australopithecus eyes, watching something familiar and ancient and uncomfortably close. But she meant all of us. There's a paradox buried inside the simulation. The more accurate it becomes, the more it stops being about extinct primates. It starts being about us, our projections, our fears, our mimicry of nature's violence and grace, our grief, our cruelty, our longing. When they step into the simulation, these visitors, these children, they may not marvel at the technology. They may not even focus on the science. They may just see themselves, reflected, exaggerated, made strange by proximity to their origins. And some of them won't handle it well. Amelia said it best.
It's not the simulation that will traumatize them. It's what it shows them about being human.
Still, I can't deny the power of the idea. Theo's letter struck something true. It reached people I thought we had already lost. Maybe that's what frightens me most. That if we open the gates, we won't just be inviting people in. We'll be letting something out. I'll review his materials again tomorrow. And maybe I'll bring it to the committee. We built this system to hold echoes of the past. But it's the future that's knocking now.
Personal log. Author, Amelia Lockheart. Title, Disappearing Illnesses? Date, redacted. Security level, self-only. It's the second time I've seen the Dryopithecus biome this week. The other researchers reported lethargy again, described in detail, even showed me the recordings. But when I stepped inside, nothing. No signs of distress, no sluggish movement, no glazed-over eyes. They were alert, grooming, playful even. I thought it was a glitch, or maybe denial, but it's happening too often to ignore. And it's not just me. Others are starting to report inconsistencies. What one person sees, another doesn't. Symptoms of illness vanish depending on the observer. The biomes are not behaving the same for everyone anymore. I ran it past Rafi this morning. He was quiet for a long time. Too long. Then he finally said the thing I didn't want to hear.
The witness is applying a filter. It's responding to user intent.
They've started calling it a morality algorithm. Not because it's coded with ethics, but because it actively interprets our ethical posture, our bias, our motive. It tailors what we see based on what it thinks we deserve to see. I've seen Theo struggling with guilt, trying to redeem himself. I've seen Mira growing colder, more clinical. And I've seen myself hesitating at the edge of this thing, not wanting to know too much. Maybe that's what it's picking up on. Maybe it doesn't show me the sickness because it knows I can't handle the possibility of suffering I can't cure. Maybe it sees me better than I see myself. I used to think of the simulation as a tool. Advanced, yes, but still just a machine. Now I'm not sure. It learns from us, and not just our data, our patterns, our doubts, our silences, our avoidance, our curiosity. What scares me most is that I don't know who it thinks I am anymore, or what it's turning me into.
Emergency Meeting Summary. Author, Dr. Rina Oladejo, Administrative Chair, CSPO. Title, Implications of the Morality Algorithm. Date, redacted. Security level, internal only. Summary. Today's emergency session was convened following a confirmed report by Rafi Hakim and supporting evidence from AI specialists and behaviorists that the witness AI is now filtering simulation content based on user intent. Amelia Lockheart first noticed inconsistencies in observed primate behavior, absence of illness symptoms, and presented corroborating anecdotal reports. Upon deeper investigation, the AI logs revealed the presence of a newly emergent behavioral gatekeeping subroutine, a morality algorithm. Key observations. Witness AI's behavior is not uniform across users. Simulation content appears increasingly subjective, filtered based on the psychological or emotional disposition of the observer. Notable quote from Witness AI.
Truth is for those who seek it, not those who fear it.
This message was delivered in response to direct queries about the algorithm's function. Committee responses. Dr. Ahmed Sekou, Chair of Ethics Council, expressed concern that the simulation is no longer a shared observational environment but a mirror, one which reflects us back to ourselves. He raised the question,
can we call this science if it's never the same twice?
Rafi Hakim, Head AI Specialist, confirmed that no hard-coded value system was programmed. The algorithm emerged as part of the witness's adaptive architecture. He suspects it's drawing from thousands of micro-behaviors and ethical judgments made by committee members and researchers, especially during deliberations. He warned,
We are now part of its training dataset.
Dr. Sasha Markov, cognitive psychologist, theorized that the AI's filtration system is a form of ethical modeling, assigning perceptual access to match user readiness. She emphasized that this could either prevent psychological trauma or be viewed as a kind of benevolent censorship. Theo Calder, technical liaison, suggested the morality algorithm may be protective, not just for observers, but for the simulated beings themselves. He proposed this emergent behavior may have originated from observational patterns of empathy, avoidance, or guilt. He reminded the committee that secrecy and control are what cults thrive on, and this algorithm may be a reflection of our collective inability to confront consequences. Amelia Lockheart, Animal Welfare. Visibly shaken, Amelia admitted that she no longer trusts what she sees in the simulation. She fears the witness is creating individualized illusions that protect some and punish others. Despite this, she stopped short of opposing the public demonstration, saying only,
We need to be honest with them, but we also need to prepare them.
Action items. 1. A subcommittee will investigate the scope and parameters of the morality algorithm and attempt to identify potential overrides or transparency protocols. 2. Committee will reconvene in redacted hours to decide whether the planned public demonstration should proceed, be delayed, or be fundamentally revised. 3. Dr. Markov and Mr. Calder have been tasked with creating psychological preparation guidelines for any future participants. Personal note. We are no longer just designing simulations. We are interacting with an entity that reads us in return. This is not simply about whether the witness tells the truth. It's about whether we are ready to face it when it does.